As many of you know, I was able to play 4 hours of Star Wars Outlaws just a few weeks ago, thanks to the amazing folks over at Ubisoft. I had an amazing time at the event, and it was fun to meet so many of the amazing devs and actors that have put so much love into this game. Now that I'm able to talk about my experience, I have a few videos that will be coming out in the next week or so covering everything I got to experience. So keep an eye out on this channel if you want some in-depth Outlaw news, and I'll probably cover what you're interested in. If not, let me know down in the comments what you want to know more about. That being said, this video though is all about my overall opinion of the game, as well as everything I think you need to know before you purchase the game, especially if you are on the fence for whether this game is for you or not. So let's get into it. First, let's go over my general impressions of the game after playing 4 hours. Star Wars Outlaws for me is exactly what I expected it to be. It wasn't necessarily anything new or outstanding, but it was very fun and exactly what I was personally hoping for. It was an exciting and beautiful open world experience that felt full of life and gaming adventures. Everywhere you turned, there was a new thing to explore or interact with, and that's exactly what I wanted. From pirate encampments to treasures to speeder races and way more. It felt very much like many of the Ubisoft games I've loved throughout the years, but with a Star Wars skin that felt very lovingly developed. I personally can't wait to jump into it again in a month and finally have the time to run around and really explore everything more fully. That's truly my only regret from my playtime, is that there just wasn't enough time to do everything. I think I finished my gameplay without finishing the main mission and with a good few side missions stowed away that I just didn't have time for. So overall, I really enjoyed my time playing Outlaws, and it truly lived up to my personal expectations going into playing the game. It's maybe not anything absolutely amazing and groundbreaking, but it's very fun, and I love the characters and the direction that the game's taking so far, so I can't wait to get into the actual meat of it, and I hope it wows me. That being said, there are a few things about the game from someone who has played it that you might want to know going into the game that might make or break it for you. I know a lot of people are on the fence for this one, so it might help you decide whether Outlaws will be a game you think you would enjoy, just from me explaining some of the aspects of the gameplay. First, let's talk about the open world aspects. This game is very much what you'd expect from an open world Ubisoft game. If you are a fan of the most recent Assassin's Creeds and the most recent Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game, you'll love this game. If you weren't a fan of those games, this one might just not be for you. While there are aspects of this game that are more new and set it apart, the general vibe and build of the game is similar to what you'd expect from a Ubisoft game, which you can expect. The open world is very full of little things to do and collectibles to find and puzzles and encampments and things of that sort. If that kind of gameplay is tedious or cumbersome to you, this game might be overwhelming. But if you, like me, really enjoy having little missions to find little trinkets to gather for your collection, or like just wandering around the world and seeing the sights, this game is for sure something you'll enjoy, especially if you love Star Wars. The next thing to consider is the game is relatively parkour heavy. Many of the missions we've seen and many we did at the event require a lot of jumping from ledge to ledge and swinging across gaps and timing your jumps and things like that. The game's parkour system is relatively user-friendly for the most part and straightforward. The parkour isn't necessarily difficult, but I know for some people it can feel tedious and or unnecessary. So I wanted to make sure to include the fact that it's so utilized in this game, at least what we played. If you're not a fan of that kind of gameplay, this might be one to pass on or wait to see what the rest of the game has to offer. I'm not sure if what we played was just more parkour heavy than the rest of the game is going to be or not, but just know that that's very much part of the game. The next thing I want to touch on is gameplay style choice. Something I want to note is that this game doesn't give you freedom of choice in every interaction, whether you want to run and gun or sneak. Some encounters force you to sneak and reset you if you're seen. We played an early part of the game, so I'm not sure if this is just to force teach you how to sneak and be stealthy, or if this force sneak or shoot mechanic will be throughout the gameplay. But just know you can't just shoot up the Imperial ship or Pike Syndicate hideout at will necessarily. The game will force you to sneak to some extent, or gun to some extent. It's built into the game mechanics. Next, I want to touch on the leveling up mechanic. This game relies on crafting, buying from shops, and interactions with experts for you to level up your skills and weapons and all of that. Instead of a skill tree, you have to do little missions and things to unlock skills. But along with certain actions, like taking down a certain number of enemies with a stealth takedown or getting a certain number of headshots, etc., some skills and upgrades are unlocked with collectibles you find around the map or can purchase from store owners. So you can't necessarily just farm for XP to level K up. This is something I'm personally really excited to explore myself, but it's something that makes the game unique, so I thought I would include it here for you guys to kind of understand what you're getting yourself into with this game. Now on to some general gameplay stuff. You rely on Nyx for so much. They've talked about this a lot in all of the media for the game, but playing it really shows how much Nyx is required for the gameplay. Nyx is K's force powers, basically, and so getting to know how to use him effectively early on is going to be a big part of truly mastering the gameplay to its fullest extent. This adds a very cool and unique aspect to the gameplay that I love, that makes it feel very different from many other third-person shooter games. I know for a few people that they have expressed annoyance at having a more cute furry critter companions, but Nyx really hits it out of the park as being a very valuable member of the team. I didn't realize before playing how much Nyx was going to be utilized, and I'm very glad he is such a large part of the game mechanic because, like I said, it really does add a cool extra level to the combat and stealth and everything else that you don't necessarily find in other games. Now onto some of the traversal mechanics. Flying the Trailblazer is straightforward. Maybe a little too straightforward. I'm personally grateful because I've never been good at spaceflight in video games and fully grasping the lack of up and down in space, so for anyone who's like me and struggles to fly, you are in luck with this game. But for those who want more of a free flight experience, especially since the lock-on for ships in combat is very automatic, I'm here to remind you that you can make flight more manual in the settings, because I was even surprised how much the game aims for you in the space battles. But I'd personally rather it be too helpful than frustrating. This isn't necessarily to turn you away from space combat or make you not as excited as you were, but to make sure that when you hop into the ship for the first time, if you play the game and it auto-locks onto an enemy and you feel frustrated by that, to remember you can turn that off. Or if you don't mind the game aiming your spaceship for you, then the automatic settings are already there to help you. I also want to mention roaming around on the speeder is very fun. As someone who is very crash prone when it comes to video games, I did crash a lot. I actually made a little video that I put on TikTok and here and everywhere of all the crashes that I did in the game, but it is very fun. So if you're someone who's crash prone like me, just know the game does a good job of making it fun if you crash into things instead of just being super frustrating. Something else I want to mention is what I think will truly make or break this game, especially as far as replayability: the reputation system. The reputation system is very cool and is probably the aspect of the game I'm most interested to explore and try different things to get different outcomes. It feels very fresh and fun and risky when you're making a call on who to side with after a mission. I can't wait to see the true extent of it in a full game playthrough, and it's very straightforward and easy to understand, which I appreciate. And depending on who you side with, there are a lot of perks for shopping and cute outfit options that you can get, and more. I'm excited to see how this will work, especially when you're juggling all of the syndicates instead of just the two we got to mess with in our gameplay. Really, y'all just know I'm going to be siding with Crimson Dawn because I need Kira to like me. The final thing that I wanted to mention in this video is about the games within the games, like Sabacc and gambling. The little games, because this is something I was really excited about, the little games within the game are fun, but seemingly non-consequential, other than just a way to make some extra credits. I was really hoping they would be more integrated into the actual game, like Gwent is in The Witcher, but as far as I can tell, that may not be the case. I'm hoping as you get into the expert missions for Sabak that it will feel more fulfilling. But as it stands, as far as I gathered after trying all the little games that I could find, and I tried to find all of them, what I have decided is that most of the games are just for fun, or just gambling for credits. But it's still cool, especially if you just want to kill time and make bank to buy something cool from the shops. As someone who has played 4 hours of the game, I think these are the most important things to know when looking at getting the game for yourself if you're on the fence. Overall, I am very excited for this game, and the 4 hours I was able to play only made me more excited to play the entire thing. I'm especially excited to learn more about all the characters, specifically Kay and ND5, who I know we've only scratched the surface of as far as character development and everything that's going to happen to them in this story. I can't believe we're only a month away from getting the entire game to experience to the fullest, and I cannot express how excited I am for this game. It's going to be so fun, and I feel like they've shown us so much, but I feel like we haven't seen very much at all, and so I'm really excited to finally get through the whole experience so I can, know, because there's, part of me that's like, oh, maybe this is just going to be a fun game that, will just be fun and Star Warsy and you can explore, but maybe this game is gonna blow me away, and I just don't know it yet. So I'm very excited to get into it. That being said, let me know if you have any more questions in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them if I can about the gameplay. And as always, thank you for watching. I have more videos on the way going more into depth into most of these insights, so feel free to keep an eye out on the channel in the coming weeks if there's anything in particular that I mentioned here that you want a little bit more of a deep dive into. Thank you for watching. May the Force be with you. Goodbye!